Hello there, welcome to Genessis Models. My name is Bob Waldron and welcome to this vlog. This vlog is the Q&A vlog where we do all your questions and try and answer them in this video. So after compiling a load of questions together, I've got a few to get through. So we have, starting off, we have Roland Zuba. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong, but it is a little bit hard sometimes. His question is basically asking about the group builds that we do here at Genessis Models and if we're ever going to do an armoured fighting vehicle group build. Now, when it comes to group builds, I'm assuming like you're a bit new to sort of the whole group build thing. Basically, I have no choice in this. I've always handed the decision of what the next group build here at Genessis Models is going to be by letting you guys pick and vote on it. So on the Genessis Models forum, there is a nice thread there where it's all about, you know, proposing group builds, and you can just go in there and you create your own thread and just say, for example, you know, let's do a Battle of the Pacific group build for an example, and then all you got to do is put a little voting system in there where it's basically yes or no. So then people can then view that and go, yes, I wouldn't mind doing a Battle of the Pacific group build. And then basically the one with the most votes, right, will be the next group build. So, you know, it's totally out of my hands. So if you do want to do an armor fighting vehicle group build, you know, when it comes round to the next group build proposal, which would be you know, around about summertime 2021 for the next group build, you know, get your group build proposal in there for the armored fighting vehicle and see how many people vote on it and see if we get it. So it's always been up to you guys to decide what you want to do. But also, in saying that, I mean, you know, we don't generally go off and go, you know, let's do a Spitfire group build. You know, generally I do normally see it's normally a subject area. I know at the moment it has been, you know, the Battle of Britain group build. It's now going to be the Blitz group build. I know that's kind of like a lot of aircraft, but even with, say, the Battle of Britain group build, you know, we're not sort of going, it's all about planes. You know, people can still go off and do, say, AA guns. They could do figures, right? Somebody could propose a, I don't know, for example, a D-Day group build, which, yes, you know, you can have sort of, you know, planes and stuff flying about, but you've got ships involved in that, armed vehicles, you know, you got figures, you could be doing dioramas, you know. I mean, if you want to do armed fighting vehicles, you know, sometimes there is a subject matter that could allow you to do that. So, you know, it is open for all sorts of things, but, you know, it's totally out of my hands and you've got to get your proposals in. So then next up we have XAV500011, you know, cool username. Basically this guy is asking about finning Citadel acrylic paints. Can you sort of fin them and then store them in an empty pot to use them in future use? Now, when it comes to this kind of stuff, when you kind of mix your stuff, put it in an empty pot for future use, right, generally you want to be using the manufacturer's thinners, right? And generally you can pretty much, you know, feel confident that that's going to sort of store nicely. I do know that Citadel, for some strange reason, they don't really do their own thinners. They kind of basically just go use distilled water, right, which, you know, does mix the paint nicely, but, you know, storing it is a little bit of a problem because I know with water it can possibly create bacteria and then it can sort of mess up the paints, right? I have in the past mixed my homebrew thinners with Citadel paints and they've been good. I've even stored them and they still seem to be good, but this is one of these things that I know this is specifically on about Citadel acrylic paints, but to give you a broader sort of answer, you know, really when it comes to mixing paints, you know, put a little bit of a blob on a palette, mix it with homebrew thinners or any kind of thinners you want to use, see if it mixes nicely. You know, if it clogs up and goes all snotty, obviously that's not going to work. And if you want to store them, well, do you know what, it's one of these things, it's best to test it, you know, a little empty pot, a little bit of paint with your thinners and just see how it sort of reacts over time, you know. So there's a bit of testing involved in that, but with the Citadel I have found my homebrew does seem to thin it nicely, and does seem to store it nicely as well. So next up we have what is it, Scale Cars. He has the question of, totally relevant to this video, but I want a compressor for my airbrush. I was looking for something similar to an AS18. I think I know that model what he's on about. He basically says, should I get a tank or not with it? Again, if you look at my basic airbrushing videos, the golden rule to buying a compressor, there's so many compressors out there, so it's a bit hard to kind of say, this compressor's good or that compressor's not, and all these kind of stuff. But really, the golden rule is always make sure you have a tank with your compressor. Don't buy those compressors that don't come with a tank, because generally they're going to have to work hard. They're going to, as soon as you press the trigger down, that compressor's got to come on. Whereas with a tank, it fills up the tank, and then when you press the trigger, right, the tank doesn't, the compressor doesn't come on. It's got to empty the tank first, so it kind of keeps the whole durability thing going on. Stops your compressor from overheating. Golden rule: always get a tank. And then we have CB357. Now he's got a long question here, so I'm just going to break it down. Basically, he's been using Tamiya acrylics, and he's wondering, should we be glossing in between camo patterns? So when you sort of say, imagine a Spitfire, you put your what is it, dark earth down first, and what he's wondering is, should you be masking that up to put, say, the dark green on top and in between the camo patterns, right? Because I kind of get it. Tamiya can be a little bit sort of easily scratched and everything, so when you sort of sprayed on your dark earth, right, and then you sort of start masking it up and maybe putting Panzer putty down, blue tack down, right, to make your camo pattern, and then when you spray on the dark green, potentially you start pulling up all the masking tape, pulling up all your blue tack, Panzer putty, whatever, that you can start, I don't know, scratching, peeling up the dark brown. I personally do gloss in between the layers, right? I know some people don't like the fact that, because you're putting so much gloss down, that you can kind of build up maybe sort of a marble effect, which can then sort of slightly remove the detail. But it's all about sort of, it's not about putting like a massive gloss coat down. I do prefer to, put gloss coats down in between the different camo patterns, but lightly, maybe 2 misty coats. We're not talking 2 light coats. We're talking like 2, light misty coats, just so as it just gives the paint underneath some sort of a protection, ready for this kind of masking up, ready for doing your camo patterns. That's me personally, but if you do that, I know not everybody prefers it, but if you do that, really does need to be light sort of gloss coats. You don't want to be putting on like 2, 3, 4 real proper coats down and really getting it all nice and shiny and stuff, because you can end up, again, having this sort of marble effects, maybe sort of steps in between, sort of like where the lines are for the camo pattern and everything. Just really sort of nice gloss coats. But that's what I prefer to doing. But again, I know it's a sort of a bit of a subject and a bit of an opinion on how you like to work, but that's how I personally like to work. We then have Frank J. He's got a nice little picture here, which I'm going to show you, which is basically working on the Hasegawa 1/48 scale A4M Skyhawk. Very nice kit there. Is used Tamiya X7 red, right, to do the flaps, or was it the air brakes? I think it was the flaps. And as you can see from the picture, when he sort of peeled up the masking tape, it sort of peeled up the glossiness of it, and he's just wondering what sort of happened and what's gone wrong here. Now, looking at it, it's a bit strange that it's just pulled up the gloss and not actually pulled up the paint itself. Now, X7 is an acrylic based paint, but it is a glossy type paint, so drying time is going to be a lot more. I know with the Tamiya paints, the XF range, right, they are a matte acrylic paint, and you can spray them down and pretty much, half an hour later, maybe you probably shouldn't, but I have got away with sort of masking up and spraying away and been pretty much totally fine. But with the X range, the X range is a glossy range, and they take a lot longer to dry. They need to properly cure. So, you know, it is good to leave them for a good day or two to properly dry if you're going to be masking on top of them, right? So, you know, if you if you leave it that long, then if you peel up the masking tape, you shouldn't have anything peel up on you. So that's probably the problem going on there. But what he also wanted to know is how to fix it. Well, the good news is you haven't peeled up the paint with that. If you kind of see from the picture, what's actually happened is the gloss has gone. So pretty much nice and easily gloss over it, get some gloss out, spray over it, and it should sort of blend it all back in, and should pretty much look as though you haven't had that sort of peel up of gloss, right? Fingers crossed. Hopefully there's no steps or anything in it, but you know, for the quick easy way around, probably just put a gloss coat on and you should be fine. We then also have our not last but one question here. This is by, again, CB357. Probably a stupid question, but can you add a colour, let's say black acrylic, to Tamiya grey liquid surface primer, so as to add a little bit of to make it easier to apply in the paint when spraying on, say, a light coloured model? So what basically is happening here is, I know what he means. You know, you kind of use your grey primers, you spray on the model, and because the model's also grey and they're such a close colour, it's kind of a little bit hard to sort of see where you're spraying. So I get what you're saying there. Adding a little bit of black just to sort of make the colour darker, or even adding a bit of white to make it a little bit lighter, so as you can see it being sprayed down. Now, not a stupid question really, absolutely fine to do that, but as always, right, I mean, he does state with this one that is using grey liquid surface primer by Tamiya, but he does just say black acrylic paint. So that could be any black acrylic paint. So as always mix. Just get a pipette or something, or a paintbrush, put a little bit on on some sort of a surface, mix the two together, and just make sure there's no reaction. Apart from that, mix them together, make it a little bit darker, so as you can see it spraying down, absolutely fine. Just kind of remember, grey is sort of nice as a primer colour, so don't go so grey it kind of goes black, because you probably want to do something like pre-shading, and you don't want the colours to be too close together. So the last question is sort of like a general question that I've been asked quite a bit. And that is about Brexit. Yeah, I know it's a bit of an annoying subject, to be totally honest. Yeah, Brexit. What's Brexit going to do? How's it going to affect the store? How's it going to affect Genessis models? I mean, really, you know, it's going to affect, you know, not just Genessis models, but everybody, obviously. To be honest with you, I couldn't really give you an honest, solid answer, right? I mean, you know, I've just had a quick look on the internet. They're still in talks about it. There's not been any sort of, you know, concrete, this is what's going to happen, this is how it's going to go. I know the government has been sort of sending stuff out for you to go online and see how it affects your business. I've had a look at that, and yeah, there's going to be, you know, sort of importing and exporting goods and stuff. I mean, there's potentially going to be extra costs involved in that kind of stuff. Now, again, I don't exactly know 100%. All I can say is I'm just guessing here, but I can almost see that there's going to probably be some price increases on certain products. Obviously, you know, I buy from wholesalers, and then those wholesalers are buying from potentially some of the products from European countries, and you know, if it's going to cost a bit more for them to import that stuff, then yeah, I can probably guess and imagine that, you know, the UK RRP is going to go up on certain products. So I'm just guessing there, but basically be prepared for things like that. Also, when it comes to stuff like postage and stuff like that, I can sort of just, again, I'm just totally guessing here, but you know, if I send products to a European country, I can just imagine that there might be some extra costs involved there. So for an example, because I'm just totally guessing here, you know, if I was to buy something from, say, the United States, when that parcel got to the UK, the Royal Mail could go off and stop that parcel, send me a letter, which they have done in the past, and they'll go pay 20% VAT plus here's a nice annoying little fee for us handling it. Right, I can potentially see that maybe happening as well when it comes to European countries now. Again, I don't know what everybody's countries, how they do things, but maybe there might be something like that. So yeah, I don't know the full answer with that one, but just be prepared for sort of anything to happen. I mean, they're still in talks. Who knows? We might get a good deal. Probably not. I probably highly doubt it. But yeah, just be prepared for anything on that one. I'll probably just let you know more as and when I can give you a bit more of a concrete answer on it. But as always, hopefully you've enjoyed that Q&A. If you want to get your questions in, we do have on the forum a nice little thread where you can ask your questions for the Q&A, monthly Q&A, and just ask whatever you want, as well as any emails, YouTube comments, any sort of comments, PMs, phone calls, whatever anyone gets in, I'll try and get them in this little Q&A each month. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. But as always, until next time, my name's Bob Waldron, this is Genessis Models, and I'll catch you in the next video.